Hello and welcome to the Innsbruck Armoured Car Regiment channel. Today we'll be covering the War Diary from August the 28th to August the 31st, 1944. This will cover the crossing of the River Seine at Verron and the race to Amiens. I hope you enjoy. So, August the 28th. B Squadron crossed the River Seine at 0630 hours and entered the bridgehead that had been established by the 43rd Wessex Infantry Division. The 43rd had crossed the Seine at Verron on the 25th of August and by this point had established a bridgehead 2 miles wide and 1 mile deep. Opposition had not been heavy, but the high ground to the east of the crossing was strongly contested. B Squadron prepared to advance out of the bridgehead and along two routes. The first was along the main road from Verron to Les Filliers en Vexin. The second was along a minor road that forked off the main road towards Pannelouse and Mézières en Vexin. Enemy resistance along both of these routes was strong, with enemy infantry and tanks making progress along the hilly roads and through the woods minimal. A Squadron crossed the River Seine at 1430 hours in order to follow up B Squadron along the two routes. In the early evening, a troop of cars from B Squadron were attacked by enemy anti-tank guns near Tilly. 2 scout cars were destroyed, killing Trooper J. Brown and Trooper F.G.E. Price, while wounding Sergeant Clark and Lance Corporal Roberts. A Squadron and B Squadron were recalled at 1800 hours and harboured overnight southwest of Tilly. C and D Squadrons remained in reserve at Champagnard. Over the course of the day, the 43rd Wessex Infantry Division, supported by the 8th Armoured Brigade, were clearing the Forêt de Verron, and by nightfall were in full control of the high ground to the east, and now held a bridgehead 4 miles wide and 3 miles deep. August the 29th. The 11th Armoured Division had also crossed the River Seine on the 28th, and were now to lead the advance with the 8th Armoured Brigade from the bridgehead created by 30 Corps. A Squadron was to operate in front of the 29th Armoured Brigade, with the 8th Armoured Brigade on their right. Their patrols were sent out to the east and northeast. The easterly patrols found Gasny to be clear, but the bridge over the River Epta had been destroyed. As the river couldn't be crossed, they headed northeast to Forges, where the enemy was found to be still in control of the town. The northeasterly patrols found Vexin-sur-Epte held by the enemy, but was easily bypassed, allowing them to push on to Les Filliers en Vexin. Patrols further to the west passed through Tournai and headed on to Les Andelys and Harquency. On their route, a number of enemy infantry were encountered and taken prisoner. Les Andelys and Harquency were found to be clear. The troops at Les Filliers en Vexin and at Les Andelys and Harquency now converged on the crossroads at Boisemont from two directions, only to find the crossroads still held by the enemy. The patrols on the eastern side were now transferred over to join the westerly patrols, where the going had been found to be a lot easier, and these reached Les Filles en Vexin, Etrepagny and Neuville. At 1700 hours, A Squadron was relieved by D Squadron and pulled back to Les Filliers en Vexin to harbour for the night. While returning, Lieutenant Archer's troop was fired upon by Cromwell tanks, blowing a scout car to pieces and killing Trooper Harrison. D Squadron continued the advance, making good progress, reaching Magnanville by the end of the day. B and C Squadron had spent the day in reserve. August the 30th. The regiment followed up the divisional advance for most of the day. B Squadron, leading their column, travelled through Etrepagny, Gisors, then north to Saint-Enons. The rest of the regiment followed the division's centre line, which headed through Heidecourt, Hebecourt and Saint-Fontaine, then north to Hondench-en-Bray. At 16:15 hours, the division's headquarters decided it was best to press on through the night to Amiens, and the orders were issued. With this in mind, the Innsbruck were tasked to lead the way. A Squadron passed through the area of Saint-Germain-des-Fly, where considerable enemy activity was noted. At 1700 hours, B Squadron were tasked with the seizure of 2 bridges west of Amiens and set off from Saint-Enons. 2 routes were planned that would take the squadron through Grandvilliers, Poixy and Courvillers. Grandvilliers was found to be occupied, but the squadron managed to make its way through at night under the cover of darkness into a heavy rainstorm. August the 31st. B Squadron pressed on through the night, managed to reach Equeny-Erecourt and Frémontet by daybreak. Their task had been made all the more difficult as Allies and Axis forces were racing to reach Amiens before the bridges were destroyed, often with vehicles of both forces in the same convoy, which resulted in a rather amusing morning as the identification of each vehicle was revealed at daybreak. B Squadron managed to push a little further on, and by 0800 hours found itself near Namps-Orval, still 20 miles from Amiens. Meanwhile, A Squadron, closely followed by D Squadron, had made its way through Marseilles and Crèvecoeur-le-Grand, and by 100 hours was at Carrefour, where it was ordered to assist B Squadron with their objective of capturing the two bridges west at Amiens. A Squadron initially headed west to join B Squadron's route, but found Grandvilliers and Sommeroux still contested. The patrols were recalled and an attempt through Conti was attempted. Passing through Conti, the patrols managed to reach the main road between Poixy and Amiens, but were unable to cross or join due to the heavy presence of enemy traffic. Throughout the day, A Squadron had collected 190 German prisoners along their route. B Squadron and D Squadron were also having trouble with this road, making the regiment's progress in this direction limited. However, the 8th Battalion Rifle Brigade had managed to capture the main bridge over the River Somme at Amiens, along with one or two of the secondary bridges. And with this news, the Innsbruck were rerouted to Amiens to recce the route northeast out of the city. Traffic jams and bad wireless caused some initial delays, but eventually the patrols got moving. Passing through Amiens, A, B and D Squadrons managed to reach Saint-Glatigny and Rainville, where a number of V-1 launch sites were found. C Squadron passed through Amiens at 1900 hours, finishing their day at Alonville, where they harboured for the night. Losses over these days were 3 killed, 2 injured, with 3 Dingo Scout cars knocked out. The Innsbruck War Diary notes that during the period from the 6th of June to the 31st of August 1944, the regiment had suffered the following casualties. Killed in action: Captain J. A. Bucknell, Major A. W. Reed, Lieutenant P. R. D. Shaw, Lieutenant O. J. Shanat, Lieutenant W. I. Gwenny Jones, Lieutenant L. T. Yodigan, Lieutenant R. Wigram, Lieutenant D. G. Grierson, Lieutenant R. L. Richards, Lieutenant C. L. Dewell, along with 26 other ranks. Wounded in action were Lieutenant P. E. Reeve, Lieutenant G. Thompson, Lieutenant J. H. Henson, Lieutenant M. H. Russell, Lieutenant J. R. A. Bottomley, Lieutenant K. P. Hurd, Lieutenant E. B. Young, Second Lieutenant B. L. B. K, Lieutenant A. H. Monroe, along with 48 other ranks, of which 6 subsequently died and 3 rejoined for duties. Missing in action were 5 other ranks. Based upon the information I have collected so far, the Innsbruck has lost 20 Dingo Scout cars, 5 Daimler armoured cars and 4 half-tracks during this period. On the 28th of August, the recommendation for Lt Col Bingley's Distinguished Service Order was submitted. It reads: Lt Col Bingley commands the Innsbruck Regiment. A detachment of his unit, under his personal command, landed in Normandy on D-Day and achieved a very deep penetration of the enemy defences, reaching Tilly-sur-Seulles. During this action, he came under very heavy fire and his detachment suffered very heavy losses. Ever since this day, his unit has been engaged in battle. Every detachment has shown the same thrust and determination as was displayed by Lt Col Bingley to penetrate the enemy defences, report on his doings, and disorganise and demoralise his rear areas. I consider this spirit due to the splendid example set by Lt Col Bingley both on D-Day and thereafter, and strongly recommend that he is awarded the DSO. References are on screen, and I hope you can join me on September the 1st in the next video in this series of the Innsbruck War Diary 80 years on. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you to all for the kind support. It comes as a surprise to myself that this channel has reached 100 subscribers, which is a small milestone that I never expected. Until next time, cheerio.